What's up everybody, so today I'll be installing the ISR silicone air intake pipes on the Nismo 370Z. I had them on my 2012Z, took them off before I traded it in, so let's go ahead and pop these things on. And with one of them off right now, we'll go ahead and compare them real quick. So this is a corrugated plastic pipe basically, so a lot of unwanted turbulence and stuff in there. This one is just a solid silicone, very smooth. So we'll quickly install them, get it all done, and then go for a drive to see if these things are actually worth buying for your 370Z to hold you over until you're ready to drop 500 bucks on a full air intake. One down, now just one more to go. And by the way, I got the R6 all registered, license plate on it. My helmet and jacket have arrived, so I've been riding around in this thing the past few days. Tons of fun already, so let's get back to the Nismo. And if you do want to see a full detailed install of how to do these, that video will be in the description below, and I did it on the Red Z. Simple installation done, about 30 minutes. There are the stock ones and then the nice new ISR ones. And before I start hammering on the car to test out if the pipes did anything, look at that. 370Z is quite practical with grocery shopping, got weekly stuff in there. So yeah, let's do a little bit more drive cycles and then hit the road to see if those pipes did anything good. Well, the Nismo's a quick car to begin with, so obviously I got right up to the highway speed pretty instantly. So far with just that acceleration, the audio level is changed a little bit. It's definitely a little bit beefier. Now the car does have the audio system in it to where it listens to the sounds and kind of like produces engine noises from the speakers and stuff like that, but there's definitely a little bit different engine sound. The engine itself does have a small whine to it. That's like the stock sound. It almost sounds like a supercharger. So with these pipes on, I am noticing just a little bit beefier tone to it, so a little bit deeper. So I am liking that so far. And for power, I'm not feeling too much yet. So in fourth gear, doing a pull like that, it's very smooth. So before we get back out on the highway, just waiting for the light to turn. These pipes cost about 80 to 90 bucks. So a performance air intake is like $500. So obviously it's not going to do the same type of gains that you're going to get from a true cold air intake full system like that, but it's a fifth of the price. So that's a pretty big difference, $400 more for a full air intake. So I had these on the Red Z. I bought them within a month or two of buying that car, and they were a little bit better than stock. I did notice a little bit of a difference. So at this point, it's nice that I can just recycle them and reuse them for this car, but I'm not quite ready to spend $500 on an intake. So let's see. Of course, the car takes a turn. Well, what I'm noticing so far, it's more linear. The power just seems a little bit smoother. Obviously, it's not like I added a supercharger on the car and it's gonna give me 100 horsepower, but it just seems like it's a little bit smoother, and that does make a lot of sense. The stock pipes that you saw are just that corrugated plastic, so there's a lot of turbulence created in the air intake system with the stock setup, and I would assume that somehow would make the engine just a little unrefined. So with the pipes on, it seems smoother. The first gear and second gear change are always a little bit tricky in this car. Just the way the clutch is set up, it's always a little interesting to get used to. But with this so far, it's just smoother seeming. It's definitely a little bit beefier sounding. I am noticing that it has less of that little supercharger whine type noise and just a little more beef to it. They've definitely added something. Again, it's not 100 horsepower or anything ridiculous, but there is something different with the pipes on. So just getting up to some speeds again. The engine just seems to rev. It's smoother, it's totally smoother. All right, so that begs the question, does every 370Z need these pipes on their car? Yes and no. Obviously you don't need a performance part, but if you're looking to modify your 370, you might not be wanting to break the bank day one when you first get your car. So under $100 to pick up these silicone intake pipes, not gonna break the bank, not expensive at all. And there's a few different brands you can go with. They make them in different colors as well, but they're all the same thing, just a silicone intake pipe to replace the plastic corrugated one. And they eliminate the stock silencers, which also create a little bit of turbulence, and just that turbulence, I think, with the stock setup will slightly unrefine the engine. So I think this is a great performance part to pick up for those of you who want to modify your car but don't want to spend $500 on an air intake. Because if you do look at the stock intake, it's actually a really, really efficient setup. It has a twin intake with a V6, so technically each air intake is only attached to a 3-cylinder engine. And the size of each intake on this car is about the size of a normal air intake. So it's already very efficient. There's plenty of airflow. You don't need a giant aluminum tube just to get more airflow. It is a cold air intake the way it is stock. It's got a thick plastic air box that insulates it from the heat very well, and that box is connected to another tube that goes into the front of the bumper, so it is sucking the air from a colder source rather than in the engine bay. So the stock intake is pretty efficient already. You don't necessarily need to upgrade the intake. I've seen a lot of reviews of people just doing higher flow K&N air filters, and they actually notice a little bit of a bump in performance. So you don't necessarily need a cold air intake that actually has the air filter in the engine bay, because that's just going to suck in hot air. So the way this intake is set up stock, it's pretty decent, and replacing the bumpy plastic pipes that create some unwanted turbulence with a very smooth silicone one, you would think would actually add a little bit of power. And from what I'm noticing, it does that. Not a lot of power, obviously, but it just seems a little more refined. And for under $100 to do a quick intake mod on the car, I think that's pretty well worth it. Slightly better performance. It's not about the horsepower or torque gain, it's just the engine seems to rev just a little bit smoother, which of course makes the drive a little bit better when you're hammering on the car. And then the beefiness, it sounds a little bit better than stock. Obviously, without those little silencer tube things that they come with stock, you're gonna get a little bit better sound. So overall, for a cheap modification, I think it's very well worth it to hold you over at least until you're ready to spend $500 on a performance air intake. But at the end of the day, not a bad performance part at all. And this is not a sponsored video. I'm not getting paid to say these are good pipes at all. I'm just saying, for those of you who have the car, you want to do a few mods, don't want to break the bank, not a bad thing to pick up. There you go, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. Quick install of the silicone intake pipes that I'm reusing from my previous 370. Quick summary about what I think of them. Not a bad part. I definitely like them. Sounds a little bit better too. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Stay tuned for many Nismo videos, the Lotus Evora, then the CBR and the R6. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next video.